What's up, guys, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. Real quick before questions, we just need to say a thank you and give a shout out to Jake Pickering, who joined our Patreon at the Jedi Council level, which is just huge. So thank you so much, Jake.
Vogard Loch Ness asks if Sabine could be the Mandalorian in the newly announced The Mandalorian TV show. And also, will we get a live-action series with Ahsoka and Sabine looking for Ezra and Thrawn?
I think that there's room for it to be Sabine because the description is vague enough, but my first instinct is no, it won't be Sabine.
Yeah, I feel like her story deserves a place elsewhere. I don't know, the idea of a gunslinger, it could still be a female character, but she just wasn't the first person that popped into my head.
Yeah, I think that it needs to be, if we're going to get a story about Sabine and Ahsoka searching for Ezra, that's probably going to be the focus of that series. And I think Dave Filoni has even said he has interest in picking up that story as its own thing. So I think that the gunslinger, whoever he or she is going to be a new character. I also think that it's probably based on, I don't know, if you don't follow casting rumors, I won't say anything really, except that there is a name floating around. And I think that that person probably is the gunslinger. And if that's the case, it's definitely not Sabine. I think that this is going to be a new story with new characters. Although there are people guessing that maybe Cobb Vanth is the gunslinger. And on one hand, I'd be surprised if they pulled like this minor character from the interludes of Aftermath into the story. But it makes sense because in those interludes, he's very much a gunslinger who just picks up Mandalorian armor and just starts defending a town in in Tatooine. I don't know. It could be Cobb Vanth. I think that feels almost more likely than Sabine. But even that, I'm like, I think the most likely scenario is new character, new location, new scenario altogether.
Probably. Christopher Rogers wants to know why Obi-Wan ages so much between episodes 3 and 4.
I think that the implication that they've made up is that the Tatooine sun is, well, both suns, there's two of them.
Double sun.
Yeah, that they just like bake your skin.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know how space works. We talked about this before. We don't know how stuff works in the Star Wars universe. I think it's completely plausible that having two suns on a desert planet is going to age you much more quickly.
I think that the Ahsoka book, there is, like, again, there's kind of an interlude where Obi-Wan has a chapter to himself, and he even mentions, like, it's only been a year, but wow, does it feel like longer. Like, he specifically says that the suns are advancing the aging process. So.
Maybe he took up death sticks.
Oh, no.
While he was out there.
Maybe he went through some dark times.
Had a couple of rough years.
Oh, no. Maybe he called up his old pal Elon Sleaze Vegano, and it's like a Breaking Bad moment where Elon has gone home and rethought his life, but then he's like, do you want to cook? And this grizzled old bearded man pulls him back into that life. That's what the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie should mean.
It's basically going to be Breaking Bad.
Uh-huh.
Alden Diaz asks, what abandoned piece of concept art was our favorite of all 10 films?
Something that I thought was a really cool idea that I would still enjoy revisiting at some point is exploring the remains of the second Death Star. In The Force Awakens, they tossed around this idea that it's crashed in an ocean on Endor somewhere, and then they have to, like, swim into it. And I think the concept art is like them in the throne room. I don't know why that, like, visual just stuck with me. I really like that.
I mean, yeah, that would have been pretty cool. Mine is kind of also Death Star related. Some of the concept art for Rogue One involved the idea that the dish that goes onto the Death Star is being built on this giant planet and like at the top of a mountain, and it would just kind of like rise up out of the mountain and attach to the Death Star. But then they started talking about how big the dish is and like how big of a mountain it would have to be, and like the scale just didn't work out, but the concept art for it is really cool.
I remember reading the Art of Rogue One book and being like, no way, because I remember if you go back and watch my trailer breakdowns, before we knew what the Shield Gate was at all, I was like, maybe they're fighting around like the last bit of the Death Star and they're trying to destroy it before it's complete. And I was like, maybe that's the dish. And then I was like, they kind of almost did that.
That's kind of what we thought what's it called? The tower.
Yeah, the Citadel.
The Citadel was. We thought maybe like that whole piece like popped out.
And plugged in. Like maybe that kind of triangular shape would slide into the Death Star or something.
Yeah.
And then one other thing that I know that we have both talked about before, Ian McCaighy, one of the concept artists, we got to see him speak with Phil Szostak, who writes all the art of books. And Ian has been trying over and over to get a lady Darkseid user. And like Darth Maul, his original concepts were ladies. And like they eventually turned into Asajj Ventress or Mother Talzin, and he said he's still working on it, and fingers crossed for episode 9.
Well, it sounds like George Lucas had asked him to create some concept art for basically your worst nightmare, like monster person, and so he did, and it was kind of like this monster version of the girl from The Ring, and Lucas was like, that, but like a step backwards.
Yeah, tone it down just a hair.
Tone it down a little bit. And so then it turned into kind of a Ventress look, and that's how Ventress came about. But ultimately, it all ended up being Darth Maul.
Right.
So a lot of his concept art
is still used.
Went into other characters, but...
So that's true. I guess we can't say that it hasn't been used exactly, but for a film...
Yeah. Oliver Grant wants to know why there is a shower on an AT hauler. We're talking about the shower scene from Solo.
Right. I mean, the only real answer is because it's funny. It's like seriously my favorite scene in the movie. That's the point where I was like...
That's your favorite scene in the movie?
It might be. It's the part that I remember when... I don't know. I was just kind of like, I'm not super feeling this until Chewie comes along and like them escaping with the chain together I liked a lot. And then that shower scene made me laugh really hard. And I was like, okay, I'm starting to get on board. So that just felt like a bit of a turning point for me in that movie. So the answer is because it's funny.
I just assumed that, you know, people who have those AT haulers, they're almost like...
construction workers?
Yeah, or like people that drive the big rig trucks that have like... basically bedrooms in the back seat. People need to shower. Yeah.
I mean, I think that also we don't know if that was literally an installed shower or maybe they improvised something. Maybe they're like, you gotta get this mud off of you, and they just hooked up like a bucket and poked holes in it or something. I don't know.
Maybe it was like a place to wash parts off.
Sure. It's a very utilitarian vehicle, so there was probably just a hose somewhere lying around. I don't know. But the real answer is just because it was funny.
Rick Villanueva asks if there are any Star Wars podcasts that we can recommend.
Yes, there are a ton, and we'd be here all day if we listed them all. We have some mainstays that I feel like we mention every time, like Force Center, Making Star Wars, Steel Wars, Star Wars Minute. Those are all great, but what I'm going to do is put a just giant list of people that we recommend in the description. You can check them out. But my current podcast obsession is The Soundtrack Show with David W. Collins. It's not strictly a Star Wars podcast, but it's amazing. And he does talk about Star Wars a lot. I can't even like describe to you how much I love it. He talks about music in a way that I haven't heard someone talk about it before. Like it's this language with words and stuff. And like, I mean, I know a little bit about music theory. I used to play piano a lot. I took lessons and I thought that I knew my stuff, but holy cow, he is like above and beyond. It's amazing. Please go check that out.
Yeah. And one of my favorites is definitely Rebel Girl. It's part of the Making Star Wars family. And that is Amanda and Jess. Mm-hmm. So we'll put a link down there for their podcast.
Yeah. But yeah, just check them all out. There's going to be a huge long list. There's probably something in there for everybody. That's it for patron questions. If you're a patron and you didn't see your question answered here, just head over to Patreon where we left you a written response. If you're not a patron, you can learn more by following the link in the description. Just $1 a month gets you access to extra Star Wars Explained content like audio commentaries for the films or our right now Patreon-only podcast Between Two Suns, and the combined donations really go a long way in supporting the channel.
On to YouTube questions. Mitwit Gaming asks if we think Bothans will get a visual redesign whenever we finally see them in canon.
I do find it odd that we haven't seen a Bothan yet. They were very prominent in Legends, and they just haven't popped up yet. And
I remember when some of the photos from The Last Jedi came out of like all the people on Canto Bight, and that one guy in the back that had that real big, almost like horse-looking face. Everyone was like, "Oh my god, a Bothan!" Nope.
And then I think that spawned Heath on Twitter making the Is It a Bothan Twitter account, where it's just like pictures of animals and aliens, and him saying no. But yeah, it's just strange that we haven't seen them yet, and I don't know why they would redesign them, but on the other hand, I don't know why we haven't seen them yet. So I'm like 50-50 that maybe, yeah, they're going to look different and less horse/goat-like. Also, they weren't super consistent with how they were depicted in Legends, kind of like the Nogri. And so now when Rook shows up in Star Wars Rebels, it's like, okay, we finally know what a Nogri really looks like. So yeah, I expect that it'll look similar, but they might change it a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with not knowing why they haven't shown them in canon yet, but maybe they're just going along with the fact that they haven't shown up yet, and maybe they never will. Or
I hope
maybe
not.
It's a running joke. I don't know.
I wonder if they're going to stay as politically motivated as they were in Legends. Maybe they're trying to decide what they're exactly going to do with the New Republic stuff.
I'm going to go ahead and say I hope the first official canon Bothan we see is a pilot.
Okay. I mean, what if the first official one we see is a dead Bothan because of how many of them die being spies?
I don't think they would do that.
Oh.
Spencer Jackson wants to know if Luke ever saw Shmi's grave at the Lars homestead.
I have to assume that he did. I don't know why Owen and Beru would hide who his grandmother was. And on top of that, I think the From a Certain Point of View book in the Beru chapter, I believe it mentions that Obi-Wan used to leave Luke like hand-carved toys on Shmi's grave. So yeah, I just have to imagine he saw it and was like, who is that? And they were like, it was your grandmother. She was a pilot on a spice freighter.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I had completely forgotten that story from a certain point of view. So yeah, I don't see why not. I think it's a little creepy that Obi-Wan left him toys there.
Where else are you going to put him?
Yeah.
Owen didn't want him around.
I also feel like the weather is so harsh there that the rocks and like all the tombstone and stuff might have been blown away over time, but
yeah, it may have been weathered down, but I just assumed that they would have filled him in on who his family was, mostly.
Yeah. Cryptic Element asks what we think the Resistance forces will look like in Episode 9.
We actually have a video coming out about this on Tuesday. It's like the state of the First Order and the Resistance, but we'll give you the cliff notes. I almost called him Poe Dameron. Oscar Isaac has talked about how they're kind of like guerrilla fighters. So I expect that they're still going to be on the smaller side, kind of like striking fast and hard.
This is the skeleton crew of the Resistance that we're working with.
I'm expecting that they're not going to be huge and that they're probably still going to be gathering new forces, hopefully. I'm wondering, though, if they are going to have some help from the scum and villainy side of the galaxy, because in the Poe Dameron comic, they get help from Gracchus the Hutt. And I thought that was surprising and interesting, and I think it would be kind of cool if even the morally gray people were like, nah, let's get rid of this First Order crew.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Finn especially would have a hard time just accepting new gray area people just because of DJ and The Last Jedi.
That's a fair point.
So if they do have members of their crew that are like that, I could definitely see some tension there with Finn and Rose.
That's a good point. I like that.
Grizzly Anders' daughter wants to know if Forces of Destiny or the Freemakers Adventures will be coming back.
Let's start with Freemaker Adventures because I'm almost positive they have finished that story. I think that they set out to do 2 seasons and it's done. I don't believe that one is coming back. Forces of Destiny, I think, is more up in the air. I haven't heard anything about a season 3.
I imagine they would continue it. It sounds like one of those things that they can just pick up at any point.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as we get another movie, I think we'll see more episodes of that.
Maybe they're timing it with the Women of the Galaxy book or something. But yeah, it seems like they've been very casual with it because like they did season 1 and then season 2 happened almost immediately after that. It's not like there was a year break or anything. It's just kind of a, when we do it, we do it. And so I don't know. There might be more, there might not be. I have no clue.
We could get some stuff with Kira.
Yeah.
Now that we have another lady in the group.
I think they did do one Kira episode, but there's room for more, especially if we don't get a solo too.
Yeah. The Burger Hut 7 asks if episode 9 will have a giant space battle similar to the Battle of Coruscant.
I hope so.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, based off of what we know about the Resistance being this guerrilla movement, I wouldn't expect it to happen at the beginning of the movie like it does with the Battle of Coruscant, but I feel like the end of the Skywalker saga needs to have a big ol' battle. And I would say that the Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, neither of them had really great space battles in the way, like, the Battle of Yavin is probably still one of my favorite Star Wars scenes ever. The Battle of Endor is just amazing.
Scarif.
Like, yeah, Scarif even isn't like as big as the Battle of Coruscant. I do think that is the largest space battle we've seen. So yeah, I do hope that at the end it's like a massive fight for the galaxy. I could see that happening.
Yeah, I still think that somehow Lando is going to be helping out the Resistance, and maybe with that might come a whole bunch of ships.
Yeah. I mean, he's this businessman in Last Shot, so he's hopefully got some money behind him.
Yeah, so he might have a fleet of ships that they can use that could definitely give some potential for a nice-looking space battle.
Yeah. That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel,
and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.